Wonderful, guys. I think we're live Sunday morning here in Ho Chi Minh City and Sunday afternoon in Melbourne. I am with Mandy. I'll just wait that everything's going fine, but how's it going, Mandy? We want to have your usual weather comment. How's the weather in Melbourne?
Yes, it was like 40 degrees for 2 days, and today it's 20 degrees. What a
Wow,
relief. And that's
big
what
jump.
Melbourne is. We say it's 4 seasons in one day. So when you come to Australia, you always have to you have to make sure that you are prepared for everything. So bring a beanie and also bring, your shorts, because you might have to wear your beanie with your shorts.
Love
I
that. Love
remember,
that.
Etienne, when I came to Australia the first time, I came here for love, and so I met this guy. I lived in Hong Kong at the time, and we were traveling back and forth for 6 months. And then I came over for Christmas to spend time with him and meet his family. We went like really quick, So, and I only living in Hong Kong, you know how hot it is, right? I only had like summer dresses. So I thought Australia, the movies that you see from the outback where it is 40 degrees, it's hot.
Yeah.
And then I came here and it was like so cold. I had to borrow like pullovers from my boyfriend at the time, and totally not what I expected. And also, well, that was 98, a long time ago. And also I remember um, when I landed in Melbourne, and I was like, oh my God, it's a real city, because everything that I saw from movies was, the outback and, home and away, like Summer Bay, like little villages. And
Mhm.
Melbourne is like it's a capital city. It's like, full on skyscrapers and stuff. So it was a real surprise to me. And it's hello NTV Games. And it's so interesting, because this is how trading was for me as well. I had this expectation of what trading is going to be, and
Mm.
it was nothing like that, nothing. I don't know, did you have the same experience?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you think before that it's like all great, all making a lot of money, a lot of fun, gets to trade at home. You can make money at home, but then you realize like it's like you don't want to stay at home trading all day. It's like not what you want to do for real. So yeah, then you kind of shift, but once you shift and you make the shift to kind of more trade, like building your trading around your life instead of the opposite, I think it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, I love what you say, because so many traders so many traders they build their life around trading, and that actually causes a sense of uncertainty and a sense of not being in control.
Mhm.
It's so interesting that you say that. So we see that in all areas of life, where someone uses a certain center point of their life and then build life around that, and then they become at the effect of life, and they feel at the mercy. But when you say, I'm the center point of my life, and I'm organizing everything around my life in interaction, of course, with other people. So what we did, we said, what time works for you, Etienne? What time works for me, Mandi? That's how you do it. You don't say, that's the only time it works for me, or I always say, fine, Etienne, if that's perfect for you, then I make my life fit into your 12 o'clock slot as well. It has to be a give and take, right?
Right.
Um,
Love it, love it.
so yeah, hi NTV
Yeah,
Games.
NTV game. We have Akbar. So if you guys have any question in the during the video, just comment in the chat. Make sure that you ask your question, because the best live we do always are the ones where people ask question. We can like focus on what you need. But and if you're watching this live, also comment in the chat. If you're watching the replay, comment as well. We want to hear your feedback. And we want to talk about a special topic today, which is those who are afraid to trade. And here's like how I want to introduce the topic. I've seen many people who either reach out to me or like direct an email, they get with me on a coaching call, and they have this problem where they're like afraid to trade. And sometimes it's because they had a bad experience in the past, like they've been trading for some time and then they failed, and then they want to like get back on track. So there's solutions for this, and I've been through that period myself where like I was super confident at first, like really wanting to trade and wanting to place trade. Then I hit like this bottom where I didn't feel confident at all. I felt like I didn't know how to trade. And then you kind of have to build up over time to where you're more like able to trade. So I know, Mandy, you've seen that for sure in the past, people who are afraid to trade. What's the first step? How do you get them back on track to where they can trade profitably?
Etienne, I don't only have seen it in the past and still see it all over. I have been through it myself. Every trader
You've given
goes
it,
through that.
exactly.
I'm living it,
Yeah.
I know what it feels. And I have to laugh because NTV Games is asking about that robot. What he actually is talking about, when the markets were so wild and crazy the last week, I barely got off my computer. And I was craving coffee so bad. And I said, I need a robot who brings me coffee. And NTV Games had a link to a robot who actually makes coffee. So there was a conversation. And we chose this topic also because many traders last week got burned badly. And many traders last week made the money of their lifetime. So some were really well prepared, and some have been through that before. So 2007, 2008, certainly been through that, and also just seeing the signs of the top occurring. And people laugh at me, fine, laugh at me, but I already said in advance it's going to be a wild week because it's lunar eclipse. And in 80% of the time, I would say, I have to backtest that number, the time of eclipses is really hard and fast. Never seen it as crazy as this, except the Trump rally and except 2007, 2008 at the beginning. But so that's my third time with this. But what happened was that a trader reached out to me and he said, "Oh my God, everybody says I have to follow my system to the T, and I did that, and I lost all my account." And I said, "In times like this, you don't follow your system." And he said, "What do you do?" And so this is where the fear comes in. When we do the thing that we are being taught to do, means follow your system to the T, which I'm not a big fan of anyway. The markets are too dynamic to be able to follow something on a logical level like a trading strategy to the T, because you have to adjust to the markets. Like when you go surfing, you have to adjust to the waves. And there's a few sharks coming as well that you have to navigate here in Australia. It's a really big problem. So where is that fear coming from is the very first question I would ask. The trader I just mentioned, his fear was certainly he did not expect the market to be crazy as it was. And he's a fairly young trader, so he's been only trading for 2 years. He hasn't been through a market like this. Trump rally was fairly easy because he was going long anyway, so he thought the market will continue on the longs. And he hasn't experienced a reversal pattern like this. So the first fear, the first question you need to ask yourself, where's your fear coming from? Is it a lack of experience? And then you have to regain that experience by going back and saying, all right, so what happened here? Is it a lack of self-worth or self-trust, I would like to say, where you've been hurt and you're like, oh my God, I should never trade this kind of pattern again. Whom did we have a while ago? That's right, the guy who was trading news, Etienne, and he was trading one news announcement and he lost a big chunk of money, right? And then he was afraid of trading news ever again. So in his case, the fear was based because of uncertainty, not knowing how to deal with the situation. And what for him the lesson was is learn how to trade news. So is it the system or is it a lack of self-trust, which the case was for him as well? Something happened and then he decided that he's not good enough, he doesn't have what it takes, and all this ripple effect that came on the back of this experience. So once you can identify what is that fear caused by, then you can then you can start putting a solution into place and filling the gaps that we have naturally in life. And I was afraid in that market as well. And I have to admit, I did trade the market nicely, but I traded like tiny. I traded like one contract, one baby contract. And yet with one contract, I would make, several $100s. It's been nuts. If you look at the Dow candles, Etienne, 1 minute, a 1 minute candle was like 100 points. Man, a 1 minute candle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I think this is what most people go through. Probably they have like a mix of reason or a mix of feeling behind the fear to trade, why they're afraid to trade. And I think like if I put myself back in that situation, I think that was more the idea that I didn't really know what to do, so I was afraid to like go back in the market. But even once you like build your skill, so let's say you learn how to trade the news, getting back to the market is going to be tough after, because like even though you have the skill, you didn't see the result yet in the market. So is there some things we can do to like start to trade this properly the first time, or do we have to see the result before we get more confident about it?
That's a fantastic question. Um, what was there first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at trading, when I work with traders, right, I look at trading as what they experience in trading as the surface level, the symptoms that they experience of something deeper underneath. And what we need to look at is what is causing the experiences, the feelings that we have in trading. Why is it that one trader, like you, Etienne, we had the conversation before, you said just trading is boring, right? Doesn't rock my boat at all. And then have other traders that say, I can't go on with life until I have solved this trading puzzle. They put their whole life on hold. So why is it that you think one way and another trader thinks another way? It's because of our experiences, of our behavioral patterns, of our personality patterns, of our fears, of our role in life that we play. So when we have someone who experiences a lot of fear in trading, I would like to know, when is it that they don't experience fear in trading? So we call it a contrast analysis. What is different to when they've experienced fear in trading compared to when they don't experience fear in trading? Can we replicate that time when they don't experience fear in trading into the time when they experience fear in trading? So that news trader, he was really good at, I can't remember what it was, at something else, let's say at trend trading. That feeling that he has about trend trading, the thoughts that he has, the self-image of him being a trend trader, can we translate that into news trading? Yeah, so it could be as simple as that. We can also go back and look at experiences from childhood. Often what happens is, I want to tell you another story again, what I saw. I think I just wrote an article about it in a magazine. So I was out at a barbecue with friends, and they have a really big property. They're a little rural, and it's amazing. The kids can grow up and explore life, and so there was the little son. He's 5, 6 years old, and he built his own fire pit. He had like little, how do you call it, little branches, and he tried to make his own fire, which was okay. He was under supervision. I personally would never let my kids do that, but that's my thing. The parents were fine with doing it and keeping an eye on him. So we were watching him. Of course, it didn't work out because the way he built the fire, it would never ever turn into a nice little fire where we could barbecue the sausages on, or the marshmallows. Um, and then what happened was the grandmother came, and the grandmother is farm lady, grown up and managed a farm for her whole life. And she said, no, don't, not like that. That doesn't work. And she basically pulled his whole little fire pit apart and rebuilt it and showed him how to do it the right way. You should have seen the expression in the face of this kid, Etienne. It was like, wow, my heart hurt when I saw him. Um, he didn't need to do it the right way. He was exploring the world, and then one of the big magical people comes and tells you you're not good enough. That's the moments when we experience that we suck at life, we're not good enough. But as a 5-year-old kid, you don't have the language to communicate it. You don't have the ability to deal with your emotions. So what did he do? He was sitting there sulking, and then he walked away and did something else. But he was walking away with a hanging head. Now, most probably in 10 years' time, he won't understand. He won't remember that. In 20 years' time, he's going to start trading. He's going to have an experience where he makes a mistake in trading. And then this old feeling from what happened when he was 5 years old is going to creep up on him. Those old beliefs that he formed about himself then. And here he is trading, and he's wondering why he can't make his trading happening, because he forgot this old story, and his unconscious is like a little best friend. And his unconscious is doing anything to protect him from feeling ever that hurt again. And so the unconscious is going to sabotage his any efforts to succeed at trading, because it is afraid of recreating whatever happened with this fire pit thing. Yeah, that's where it starts. There's no way around it.
Wonderful example. Really like it. And I realized, so I can tell you guys how I was able to overcome that fear of trading. And I realized it really fits with what Wendy talks about, of asking yourself, like, when you're not fearful and when you're not afraid to trade. So the way I fixed this is just by having a lot of data. So I went back to look at every single trade I could possibly take, doing some backtesting, getting some data. And this is when I didn't feel like fearful. When I felt really good is when I knew exactly what I was supposed to get from the market. So when I went back to take that data and go back in the market, I was able to trade without being really afraid. Like I had these a little bit ups and down of like feeling fearful sometimes, but not fearful where you like not really fear, just you feel like uncertain, but that's not really fear. That's just you're not sure what's gonna happen, but other than that, everything was fine.
Like discomfort.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
discomfort than fear for sure.
Yeah. And this is a fantastic point that you're raising, Etienne, because it goes back to what we always say: know your statistics, know your statistics, know your statistics. Know the probabilities of this trade evaluating. And what is it really that we are afraid of? So that's the next level, right? And again, everything that we do, we need to look at it in different contexts, in your personal context, right? What is it about you that creates the fear from within you? What is it about your strategy that creates that fear? If you have your money management and your risk management in place, there's nothing to fear, right? If you lose 1 or 2% of your account, no big deal. If losing 1 or 2% of your account causes immense feeling of missing out, of not being able to ever become successful, so be going into drama around it, then we need to look at what's at the source of that. But one never goes without the other. So we need to look at what is our behavioral strategy around fear that we have learned as a child. What is the strategy that we need to plug into our trading that keeps us safe? So doing our back testing, knowing our statistics, and knowing the probabilities of this special trade, and also knowing the money and risk management, and then being able to follow that. And we all know the stories about people who have their risk management in place and then they don't take their stop loss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this
Love it.
cycle. You can see that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah,
Yes, Persian.
one thing we talked about also, and this we covered that a couple of lives ago, a couple of YouTube live ago. So it's the idea that like you might lose 1% per trade and you might be fine, but over time, like what if you trade properly and then you don't like perform as expected? So you like you trade for a year and you don't have the result you want. I think like I have a simple solution for that, but I don't know, Mandy, maybe you want to dive into that. Like how should we not be afraid of doing things right with the right money management, the right strategy, but not getting the result you want?
If we look at fear is the thing that keeps us. So there's two types of fears. We know that, right? So there's the fear that keeps us stuck where we are at, and there's the fear that keeps us safe. And I saw a documentary about parkour. You know, the guys who jump from building to building? That originated in Paris, right? It's called parkour. And so they interviewed the guy who was like leading in the world, and I said to him, "Aren't you afraid?" And he said, "Yes, I am afraid, and it's a really good thing I am afraid, because my fear makes sure that I do my preparation. My fear makes sure that I don't take crazy risks. But I also am very self-assured. I know what I can do. I know who I am. I know my limits, and I know my strengths. And then there's this fear that is seemingly irrational, which is like ambiguous fear, like we don't know really what we are afraid of. And so you need to distinguish what kind of fear do you have. Because sometimes when we don't have enough skill, your fear is very appropriate, right? So for most traders who haven't been through a market like last week, they should be afraid. They should sit on the sidelines and actually figure out what's going on instead of trying to be in it and hurt themselves. Because again, a 1 minute candle, 100 points on the Dow, that can, if you have big contracts running, that can kill you. And we know that quite a few people got hurt there. So once you identify, is your fear a fear that's rational? Then you look at expanding. So Richard Branson was always talking about when his businesses were doing really badly, he would expand, he would not contract. Most people, when they don't have enough money, they look at what can I save on, what expenses can I cut, how can I budget. It's like, wow, you will always stay stuck in the cycle of not having enough money. Someone who wants to grow as a person and as a business, they need to look at how can I make more money in order to buy this, to pay my bills, to do whatever I want to do, right? And I have this same thing with my traders. We also experienced that with our courses, Etienne, where traders, they say, well, I don't have the money, can I come for free? And I said, yeah, you could come for free, fine. Would not make a difference to us. However, it would make a difference to you, because if we let you join our training for free, we actually push you deeper into crap. We push you deeper into the sewage. We push you deeper into the quicksand. And instead of, what our job is to reach a hand down and to help you out of the quicksand, out of the sewage, out of the places where it's smelly. And how about you go and you find a way to make it happen? I mean, $200 or whatever we charge, that's not the world. It's different to $20,000. But it's also what Tony Robbins said. He had the same experience where I think it was Jim Rohn. He wanted to attend Jim Rohn's training, and he asked Jim Rohn if he could attend a training in and doing work for him in exchange. And Jim Rohn said, "No, I know you can make that money. You can find a way." And I know from experience, when traders then come and they found the money, they made it, they're so proud of themselves. They feel so good. But if we help them by saying you can join our training for free, we keep you guys small, and you have the sense of feeling crappy about yourself, and we that causes fear. Because what is fear really? Let's look at the opposite. What is the opposite of fear? And the opposite of fear is trust, right? Trusting that no matter what life, no matter what the markets throw at you, you can handle it. And this is what you want to transform your fear into trust. Trust into yourself that no matter what happens, even if you have a big loss, you can handle it because you know how to make it back. Because you know how to find out what your gap was, what your not being enoughness was, and to learn that and to grow with it and to make it back 3 times and 4 times. Right?
Exactly. And I really love where this is going, for sure. And I've seen this myself in the past, like going on a different topic a little bit. But those times where I was like starting my business and everything and trading at the same time, and I had a lot of bills, of things to pay for like my site and everything, like you could either like try to save every single penny and try to like really be like cheap, or you could, and the way I got out of this is really by giving more money and investing in more trainings, and I mean, buying stuff, but buying useful things, not like a car or whatever I would need to buy at that point, but buying stuff that I know is going to help me grow. And every time I did this, I was always able to make more and more money, like all the time. It's impossible to make less unless you come to like, I don't know, something unexpected. But other than that, it always goes fine.
And the unexpected thing is a really good point, because unexpected things happen, stuff happens. But that goes then back to the trust, because you have built your trust with the little things. And because you have built your trust with the little things, you can deal with the big things. Because how we do the little things, we do the big things. Hi, Kennedy. I think Ken Lee is Kennedy.
Ken, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wonderful.
and hi, Ensign, do you have same profit taking strategies with every single trade? I personally don't.
I personally do,
I
so we're gonna be
Yeah,
different here.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we loved it, right? Again, we can cater for everyone. Do you want to share yours? Is that actually part of our talk today? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's not
Let's
part
talk
of
about
it,
it.
but yeah,
Yeah,
let's talk about it
let's
for
go.
fun.
Yeah,
So I have no clue how far the market's gonna go and how things are gonna happen. So I put a fixed take profit all the time, and that's like simple. It's always like a factor of the risk I take. So if I'm gonna take a trade with like this or stop loss, the take profit is gonna be like 3 times or whatever, 2 times, usually 3 times, and that's how I deal with it. So a couple of days ago, I had this trade which I shared on the video as well, where like price really shoot, like I had this trade, a long trade, price really shoot up like quickly in the right direction and hit my take profit at 3 to 1, but like went back all the way after to the stop loss. So had I not have a fixed take profit there, I would have like missed the move. So that's why I prefer it that way. And I'm also more comfortable. So I can put it, forget it, go away, go do whatever I want to do during the day, and everything's gonna take care of itself. So I don't have to worry about it. That's how I work. And it's also very easy to backtest. So that's my preference.
yeah. Good point. Very easy to backtest. My strategy is not easy to backtest. Impossible. So I'm
Right.
actually more of going with a flow trader, very discretionary, very intuitive because I've done it for such a long time. So intuition is just experience that is stored in your unconscious, nothing else. And I shared the story on Twitter. It was really interesting. On Friday, I was short. I put shorts in on the DAX and the Dow, and put my stop loss, obviously, because you don't want to be in a market like this without stop loss. Even though I don't often put my stop losses and often don't put on longer term trades, but in this market I did. It was like an avalanche, it was just one way easy downhill. And so the next morning I woke up at 5 o'clock something, and I can't see without my glasses, right? So I checked on my phone, on my on my iPhone, and saw everything was blue, and I could see three figures. That's all I could make out. And then I just pressed the close button everywhere because number one, it was Saturday morning here, end of the week, and number two, in such a market, you just take what you can take. And then when I went, and then I got up, went straight to the computer, started my computer, and by the time I had looked at my computer, the market had already retraced like 200 points. Again, 3, 4 candles, 1 minute candles, that's all it took. And I also trust my unconscious. And you get to the point where you are so in sync that you wake up at the weirdest times, and have learned to trust that as well. So I trade short term, extremely short term. I scalp. So I get into the market and I stay in the trade as long as my bar makes, let's say I go long, right? As long as my bar makes, the next bar makes open higher, closes higher, open higher, closes higher, open higher, closes higher. And then I look at the next time frame, let's say the 5 minute, as long as this opens higher, closes higher. So then I look at the next time frame. So this is how I trade, very, very discretionary. I go with the flow until the flow stops. And with the DAX, it's really easy because I know the DAX so well. I can feel when the energy drops, because what the DAX does, it goes like bang, 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 and then it stops. And then that's when I take my profit. And yes, it continues more. It doesn't matter. I just take the next one. And what the DAX also does before breakout, it goes like zzz, like a little, like this little tremor, and then it explodes 20, 30, 40 points. You can't code that.
No,
So,
no.
and you can't put that into a system. So very different to you. My disadvantage is I have to be on the computer in order to make money. You travel the world, and you're a man of leisure and pleasure, and make money whilst you trade. So
Yeah, it's a
awesome.
different feel. But I see your point, which this is one of the biggest advantage of trading like one thing, or if you're trading a few things, but trading mainly one thing, because you get to know really that instrument and that pair or that index. And that's not something I do. But when you trade only one thing, you get to really know the movement and what happens, and that's powerful. So I,
Yeah.
I also used to trade only like one main pair when I was day trading, only the Australian dollar and Japanese yen. And I really got to know that pair. I got to know how it worked, how it acted, what happened after a breakout, what were the tendencies of that pair. and that's something powerful that could be really helpful as well.
Yeah, for example, the Aussie dollar loves its 61% retracements. So I do trade the Aussie dollar, the euro, and I traded the pound last week, which I rarely trade because my metrics tell me do not touch pound yen, do not touch gold, and not so good at the pound either. But the pound did a beautiful double top, and I thought there's a high probability for this thing to play out, and so yeah. But I'm not big traders in those pairs because it's not what I'm really good at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one thing you mentioned earlier also is that you have to understand and like learn how to adjust your position size based on how you either like how you feel. So if you feel bad at that moment, maybe you'll trade less. Maybe you'll switch things a little bit in a different market. And so do you want to talk about it a little bit? Because I feel it's a skill that people really have to develop also.
Sorry, what did you mean with that? I'm not quite sure.
So kind of adjusting your position size. So let's say if you look, if you are in a bad market, you'll trade less. You'll reduce your size to just get a feel of it.
Yeah.
And
So that was based on velocity of the market. That was based that there was so much volatility in the market that if I would have put on my normal position sizes, I would have made a shitload of money and I would be in the Bahamas now and not here. But the risk that I would have taken would have been stupid. Yeah, so again, it's always the risk reward. I know based on my statistics, I know my best pairs or best instrument to trade that I perform best in. I know my best times I trade, so which hour of the day even. I know my best months. I know exactly where my strengths and my weaknesses lay because over the last 15 years, I have done so much introspection and analyzing my emotions, my behavior, my and the markets and which market I perform best in. I know I don't perform well in trending markets, so in trending markets, I'm really careful because I can't read them really well. I know I perform really, really well in volatile markets, but up and down. So I'm not talking about volatile markets like the last week. That was just an avalanche. I'm talking about normal volatile markets, how we had the DAX the weeks before. So in volatile markets, I put on much bigger positions because I know I feel comfy. That's my sweet spot. And when I'm in the markets where it's not my sweet spot, obviously I have to be careful because I know I can't read it as well. And that's why, Etienne, every day I look at my statistics because I know every day, let's say on average, I make 75% profit loss ratio, right? On average. But it doesn't look like I make that every day. It could be one day 200% and the next day 10%. So what I do is I always keep an eye on my statistics on how am I traveling. Do I have bigger losses than normal? If I have bigger losses than normal, then I need to adjust my behavior and my strategy, right? Do I have bigger wins than normal? Again, then I adjust my strategy. Do I have more trades than normal? I went through a particularly bad patch a few months ago. What's now? It's February. In October, I went through a really bad patch. And what happened was I started trading. So my sweet spot in trading, in terms of trading consecutive winners, is 546. If I have more than 6 consecutive winners, I must get superwoman syndrome or my concentration drops, whatever it is, but then I start making mistakes. Or I start becoming protective of my capital where I'm like, oh man, look at that. My account looks so good. When I have those thoughts, when I start looking at my P&L, my statistics, and I get this feeling of, look at me. Kind of like when you have worked out a lot and you want to look in the mirror all the time, then I know I'm at risk because then I'm not trading my strategy anymore. I'm starting to protect my profits and not take my losses anymore, because if I were to take a loss, that would destroy my 10 beautiful trades that I had beforehand. So I know myself so well when I'm at danger of doing stupid things that I then can plug myself out and go enjoy life with my friends, go to the beach or whatever it is that I need to do as a pattern interrupt. I can't remember how I got there, Etienne. I think I got sidetracked.
So that was about adjusting your position size based on the market.
That's right. Yeah. So adjusting my position size based on the market is a result of knowing myself so well when I'm performing best and when I'm performing worst. Also, again, with a big swing. So when I put my stop losses, they are based a combination of technical and monetary. So let's say I trade a top reversal pattern. Let's say a doji outside a Bollinger. I put my stop loss quite above that that doji, most if possible underneath a previous resistance. I learned that again from Tom Dante, and so if that is quite a big move because the markets have been so volatile, right? If that's a 200-point move, then I would put on a small contract because I don't want this to be more than 1% of my account. However, if the market is not as volatile and it's just, a small move, then I can put a bigger contract size to still stay within my 1 or 2% drawdown that I permit myself.
Yeah, love that. Couple of questions here about strategies and partial take profit from Anson, which partial take profit, I personally take some. I prefer it that way, but you cannot really tell if that's a good strategy, right? The only thing that can tell that is the data. So what does the data tell you? Does it tell you that you're better taking partial profit or all your profit at like 4-1 of your what to risk? That we cannot tell. So you always want to do what the data tells you to do, and that's going to be like the main. If you can take only one thing away from like this live, is do what the data tells you, and you'll be fine. Normally,
and
so
it's a good point because again, we don't know what your personality is. We don't know what your behavioral preferences are. I can tell you, I have a friend. He's an Italian guy, amazing trader, and he does exactly that. He goes in with a big volume, like 25, 50 contracts on the DAX, full contracts, not IG or so, full contracts. And then he scales out. So he would take a big portion after a few points and then leave more and take out the next portion. So he does exactly what you're talking about, but that suits his personality.
Yeah.
He found that out by this is his sweet spot trading.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's not about what we are thinking, it's about what works for you, what fits you.
And for me, that decision of taking partial profit comes from how I feel when I take partial profit. I feel much better and I have this profit like that I accumulate over time. Not only like one big chunk like in a couple of weeks or something, or in a couple of days. And also because the data tells me that this is better. Like over time, this is better than just waiting for a large take profit or a really short take profit. So
yeah. And when we talk about data, we always talk about your trading statistics and your behavioral statistics. So you and your trading strategy, you're a team. It's like the motorbike driver and the motorbike, right, Etienne?
yeah.
I'm laughing because Etienne was complaining about the motorbikes in Ho Chi Minh.
Okay, I see. That was the point. But yeah, so just a few, like this morning when I left to get my coffee outside, there was a big motorbike crash, like a big accident. So, but yeah, that's what happens sometimes in Ho Chi Minh. But yeah, terrible. Other than that, everything's fine. I love the city, so cannot complain. Yeah.
Akbar, how much trade do you take in a month? So for me, it can be anything between 5 and 500. So if a market like last week, as I said, I was constantly clicking and I was scaling in, scaling out. I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, which I can't do in a market there's no volatility. So in a market where there's no volatility and I'm lucky to get one trade, then yeah, again, no clear answer because it's like surfing, right? If there is no wind and the ocean is flat, you can't do windsurfing. But if the ocean is wide and lots of waves, you make the most out of it.
Exactly. That's what you call adjusting to the market. And yeah, for me, it's going to be between, also like 5 and I guess 20 maximum. I don't take more than that because otherwise it's like too many trades. And I would have to be here like all day to take trades. So that's not what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comment from Kingman Mac. Where can we find Mandi? I'll let you plug yourself, Mandi.
I thank you, Anastasius, for your answer. Depends on your intention. Yeah, that's true. My website, tradingpsychology.com.au, or we are also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is mpx_trader. So mpx, the name came from when I joined a forum, and the forum, the name that I chose, kind of, they didn't accept it, and then they said, why not MPX? And I said, why MPX? And they said, well, it's like SPX, just MPX. And I thought, I like that. So yeah, MPX_trader. Or, on LinkedIn with my name. I kind of hang around Etienne, so if you find him, you find me.
Yeah. Or inside the academy, the Digital Trade Academy, where we have a couple of nice training. If you want to get some really, really in-depth lessons from Mandi and modules from Mandi, they're all in the academy. And I think that's probably the most powerful trading psychology lesson you'll ever get.
Yeah, we ran a training last year for Etienne's Academy members, and it was over 3 months. So that was fantastic. That was really good. They all come now as part of the academy. Those trainings, right? They are part of the academy.
Yeah,
that was the
exactly.
idea. Yeah, because Etienne said, I have everything in the academy, from strategy, risk management, different strategies, just not trading psychology, trading mindset, performance psychology. And so we added that to the academy. What we are currently working on is, we are not clear about the name as yet, Etienne and I. We are still thinking about, are we going to call it Fast Track to Trading Success or the Full-Time Forex Accelerator? But we are
Finding the
working
name
on
of a program is like, it's like the biggest part of the work. It's like you always second guess yourself. You're not sure, should we call it that? Yeah, maybe this one. Maybe we'll take the other one. I don't know. So yeah, a lot of work.
How do parents feel about giving their babies a name?
Right.
It's like, it's how we feel. And the training that we are working on right now is really to help the novice trader to take the fast track to trading success, the shortcut, I meant to say, because there's so much information out there. And I saw this quote, I see it all the time. Everyone wants to be successful, but no one wants to do what it takes. And every trader that I ever worked with, Fast Furious FX, that's fabulous.
Like it.
Everyone that I meet in trading, they work so hard. They want to do whatever it takes. They just don't know what to do. And we want to fill that gap with the next training, where we say, instead of you trying to figure out what to do, here's the path based on Etienne's experience with having interviewed how many traders now? 200 almost?
About 135.
Okay,
That would be like
135.
200.
I'm fast tracking your success.
Yeah,
Just
right.
another 70 to go. And his own trading experience and my experience of 15 years of trial and error myself, and having worked with like over 1,000 traders. So we have looked at what is the common denominator, what is the foundation of what it takes to really get from A to B the fastest way, like your iPhone map. That we have nowadays. I think you're a
Love that.
Samsung guy, I remember. So yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I really love the comment from Mike. This is the advice for a novice trader: really study hard and study a lot. And I think that that's a good advice, except that you don't know what to study. Like you just maybe you read like 100 books about trading strategies, but when you come to applying them, you won't be successful. So it's a matter, like you need to study a lot, you need to practice a lot, but it's a matter of what you practice. Like, and I think people would be much better off if they were to kind of create a strategy from the start, trying to apply different things from the start, and learning the mindset from the start, as opposed to just studying everything possible, because that's a lot of waste of time. And you cannot study all indicators and like waste your time there. That's going to be that could take you like 5 years, could be like a full university degree, but you won't be to a point where you can trade profitably. So
Yeah. Bull on Wall Street Bootcamp. Yeah. You know, the thing is, Mike, the part of the study is the application. So let's say we read something, and then we apply it. What's missing here is the feedback to the application, because when we start out, we are not quite sure if we apply it the correct way, and then it goes again with trial and error and trying to figure out, is that what they meant? And that's the biggest feedback that we get as well, where we think we know and we are really clear on what we teach, and then traders come back with the homework and we're like, no, this is actually not how it looks like. It has to look like that. So the biggest advantage and the biggest learning, or the biggest what's it called, where the biggest value is really in application, but you can't apply without having the knowledge first, obviously. So yeah, cool. Don't look for support and resistance. I wait for it to happen, like in Gulf patterns, as support and resistance. Yeah, exactly. You know, there's no right or wrong answer.
yeah. Although I wouldn't necessarily go with that, because of the fact that candlestick pattern that happen by themselves are not super reliable. And I've done some backtesting on that in the past. I used to think that we'll be able to trade just these patterns by themselves, but it's really hard when you have no confluence and when you only trade like one candlestick pattern. It's not really going to work.
It's like an orchestra, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You need all the instruments at the right time. I love the analogy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Guys, I think we'll conclude it here because we have a couple of modules to record for next training Mandi and I are doing. And that's going to be pretty much announced pretty soon, in a couple of days or weeks. And make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to be notified about it and know about it more. Also, check out the email list we have on the blog, thisartistly.com. You can sign up there, and we'll send an email when the program goes live and we're ready to go with that. But we have a lot of work to do. Choose the right name, record the modules, and make sure everything is top notch and delivers a lot of value. So, Mandi, do you have any last word of advice? Last thing you want to conclude with?
I think what was also obvious in the light of last week, what I see always with the markets is that you can make a lot of money at a certain time of the market. And I see that with my trading buddies as well. I see that with other traders, where my trading buddies were doing really well at the beginning of the month, at the end of last year. I was not doing so well. Last week, I was the absolute world champion and my trading buddies were hurting. So find really what's your sweet spot, and don't worry about if you have times where you don't make money, because you know the times when you can make money, they will be back. And that is really the thing why we love trading so much. There's always another opportunity. And I remember I woke up, Etienne, on Thursday or Friday morning, I think it was, and I was like, man, the market dropped like 500 points while I was asleep, but I needed a few hours sleep. And then the Dow rallied up 400 points, and I caught a bit of that. There's always another opportunity happening somewhere in the next minute, and it's not that I don't have those thoughts of missing out and disappointment, but I get on with it because I know the other opportunity is right there. I don't need to worry. Yeah.
Love it. That's powerful advice. Love it. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys maybe next week. We'll see, or tomorrow for the next video. Anyway, ciao.
Ciao.